The guerrilla fantasy of building a revolution from scratch has been a staple of the Far Cry games, and although Far Cry 6 looks to carry on in that tradition, there's plenty of newness here too. During my hands-off preview and interview with lead designer David Gravel, I was impressed with the fresh systems the team has baked into the latest game. For a series with Far Cry's pedigree and built-in player base, they took bigger swings than they strictly needed to, from tweaking the game's outpost system to introducing the possibility of Hitman-like stealth to a wild array of cobbled-together weapons that will definitely get more into. Above all else, the game aims to put more options at your disposal than ever before. In Far Cry 6, you'll team up with a band of revolutionaries calling themselves Libertad, working to overthrow the fascist regime of El Presidente Anton Castillo, and free a Caribbean island state and Cuba-like called Yara. It's through Libertad that players learn the art of resolver, a guerrilla concept of using every resource at your disposal. The developers weren't afraid to run with that idea, to the point of sometimes taking things a little over the top, and I mean that in a good way. By scrapping together various items, you'll unlock weapons like El Pequeño, a massive minigun powered by a motorcycle engine, or a gun rigged out of an old portable CD player that blasts the Macarena while you down baddies. And let's talk Supremos, customizable super weapons you deploy from a backpack. At the preview session, they mostly showed the one that fires a barrage of rockets in all directions when you're desperate, but the game will naturally feature a number of different Supremos, including some that support a stealthy playstyle. And stealth has a new meaning in Far Cry 6 as well. There's a holstering system this time around, and in-game checkpoints the player can talk, bribe, or shoot their way through. It's now a legitimate option to blend in and lay low. Until you don't. Once the S hits the F, you'll be able to make your getaway in a slew of new ways. You could take a guerrilla path, one of Libertad's hidden corridors through the dense jungle, hop into one of your customizable rides complete with jets coming out of the exhaust, or mount your horse and disappear into the hills. Speaking of horses, Far Cry 6 seems to have taken a page out of Red Dead 2's book, adding camp activities to the bases you unlock and develop, giving players more of a reason to hang out at HQ. Animal companions are also back, with at least 2 spotted in preview footage. There's Guapo, an alligator with a taste for man flesh. Good croc. And Chorizo, an adorable little doggy used to distract enemies during stealth runs. We were also promised that FND bases, what this game calls outposts, have been varied in an attempt to refresh the time-honored Ubisoft tradition of killing some dudes and changing the color of that part of the map. That said, we didn't get to see a base takeover in action, so how much these tweaks really alter remains to be seen. But it's clear that the Far Cry 6 team have taken some risks with the formula, while maintaining the core gameplay elements they've refined over the years. Yara's unique mashup of Far Cry standard jungle environments and an aging Comunista city-state is already a bold move, and like the Yarans themselves, the dev team seem to have taken that momentum and tried their best to utilize every part of the animal. We'll see if the borderline zany combat clashes with what seems to be the fairly serious tone of the storyline, but ultimately, I'm excited to see such a well-worn franchise trying out a few new maneuvers, and I definitely left the preview session more excited for Far Cry 6. David Gravel also led the Far Cry Primal team, so he's no stranger to unique entries in the series. It looks like he's bringing the same sort of originality to this game, beefed up with the systems introduced in 5 and plenty of new ones to boot. Hopefully, it all comes together and makes for a wild, dictator-deposing ride. For more on the world of Yara, the complete written version of this preview